All right, so in this video, this is video number 2 for chapter 3, covering section 3-3, measures of relatively standing. And in this video, I'm going to cover percentiles. So let's go ahead and read the definition for percentile. So the kth percentile, denoted as p sub k of a set of data, is a value such that k% of the observations are less than or equal to the value. Okay, so let me kind of break this apart. So something like p sub 25 is the 25th percentile. So this is interpreted. Another way of saying this is the 25th percentile. What does that mean? So what that means is the 25th percentile is it is a data value, or a value rather. It doesn't need to be part of the data. It is a value that separates the bottom 25%. That separates the bottom 25%. And you can think of it as, if it separates the bottom 25%, then from the top 75%, right? So that's one way to interpret it as well. So it separates the bottom 25% from the top 75%. Okay, so if, let's say, we have like the data set was like arranged from least to greatest, right? So p sub 25 would be somewhere about right there. So p sub 25 would be a value around here, and it separates the bottom 25% from the top 75%. And the 75% I obtained because 75 and 25 gets you 100%, right? So if you're right here and you're separating the bottom 25%, then you're also separating the top 75%. All right. So likewise, p sub 70 right here would be the 70th percentile, and it's the value that separates the bottom 70% from the top 30%, right? So it's the value that separates the bottom 70% from the top 30%. So again, let's take that same diagram. Let's say we take our data values and we lay it out from least to smallest. P sub 70 would be a value that's somewhere over here that separates the bottom 70% from the top 30%. And again, the 30% I obtained because the two halves, or the two sides, should give you 100%. So I did 100 minus 70 to get the remaining, to see what's on the right side. All right, so let me kind of break things down a little further. So let's just say that these were exam scores for 50 students. So we have exam score for 50 students listed below in descending order. So descending order. Actually, it should have said ascending, because it starts at the low and it goes up. So that's a typo right there. It should say ascending order. So let's see. We have 10 exam scores in each row. So that's 5 rows. So that's 10 in each row, right? So let's take a look at like 70. So the score of 70. So the score of 70 kind of separates the bottom like 20% from the top 80%, right? So in that sense, we can say that p sub or we can say like 71 is, so the score of 71 is the 80th, so the 80th percentile. Or alternatively, this statement can be written as the following: p sub 80 is equal to 71. So both of these can be or mean the same thing, right? Now the next question is like, how do I how do I find or what problems am I going to see, and how do I calculate or find each of those, right? So, but before that, actually, let me kind of bring this back. What I want you to understand with this is there is the value itself, there is the value, and then there is the percentile. So the percentile is like the position at which that value is at. So there is the value itself that's in the data, or it doesn't have to necessarily be in the data, but there's a value, and then there's the data value, and then there's its percentile. And those are two different things. So what do I mean by that? In this formula right here, this is telling you the percentile, like what percentile that particular score is. So let's go ahead and do a problem with using this formula. So for example, this problem, the first one here with A, says find the percentile for the exam score of 76. So find the percentile for the exam score of 76. So what it's asking you is, given given that a score of 76, what is its percentile? Is it, the 50th percentile? Is it 20th percentile? Or what is it, right? So if you're trying to find the percentile, then you want to use this formula, right? So this formula says to find K, the kth percentile, or K, the value of K, you have to look at, well, what's the number of values less than X? So in this case, X is, this is my X, right? So the number of values less than X would be, well, let's see, there's 10 here, there's 10 in this row, and then there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8, actually 7, should be 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7. So there'd be 17 values less than 76 over the total number of values. So total number of values is 50, right? And then we're going to multiply by 100 because the answer should be like a percent, right? So figure out this and then multiply by 100. Okay, so let's pull up the calculator to see what we get here. So we have 17 divided by 50. Divided by 50, and then we're going to multiply by 100. So we get 34. So now, what does the 34 mean? So what it means is that a score of 76 is the 34th percentile. And likewise, this can be written as the following. You can write it as P sub 34, right? The 34th percentile is equal to 76. Okay, so it's a little lagging, but it should show up in a bit. So P sub 34 is equal to 76. So again, I just want to emphasize that there are two things we're looking at here, right? Two values that we have here. We have the X value itself. So for example, the X value here in this problem was the 76. And then we have the K, which tells you the percentile. And some problems are going to ask you to find the K, and some problems are going to ask you to find the X. All right, so I'm going to stop the video here. So in the next video, we're going to be talking about quartiles.